this is going to be a video with constant back and forth, kind of convoluted to be honest, because what is being conveyed here, we don't fucking know, because we're not inside the head nor mind of the Eagles brain trust, High Roseman, and other upper echelon management. But it can be said that while they all are seeming to be all in, there are some questions that need to be answered. What's up, it's your boy Cintron, coming back at you with another analysis video, and to kid you not, that's my real name. The Eagles are sending mixed messages about their 2024 intentions. And at surface level, I was like, nah, they're all in. But there's some things that make you question the intentions or the motivations for them making certain moves that have a bit of a recourse built in. And you're like, you're not completely all in. You never want to be like sold out. That being said, you want to hedge your bet to some degree, and we haven't seen the full set of cards. So there still is a draft to go, and there's trades can be made now up until the 9th week of the season due to the new rules. But let's get into it anyways. It appears as if the Eagles are trying to walk an extremely fine line, and they are, because it's the constant, like I said, balancing act. So when NFL free agency began, I thought I knew what the Eagles were doing. Coming off a stinging end of season meltdown and embarrassing loss in the wildcard game to the Bucs, High Roseman appeared to be a man on a mission, like his job's on the line. Adding Bryce Huff as a young up-and-coming edge rusher, as he's apt to do, he loves pass rushers and he's willing to go after them, especially ones in their prime. But why was he available when he was only 25 and not trying to be retained by the Jets? Bearing they did draft two guys, Jermaine Johnson, it's always Jermaine's fault, in 2022, as well as Will McDonald in 2023. And they could be said to be moving forward, those guys projected going forward. But still, you make some attempt to keep Bryce, maybe, but they just maybe knew they couldn't, pay him, which makes sense why they go after a veteran who could, add some spice to the mix and be the fastball coming off the edge and give some key leadership to those guys as well. But it like I said, begs the question: why was Bryce's health not good enough? Abundance of riches, or otherwise? Shockingly signing Saquon Barkley for the backfield, because we have been known to eschew paying running backs, and here we're just like, oh, okay, he's Christian McCaffrey-like enough for us to take that dive. So bringing back C.J. Gardner-Johnson to solidify a safety spot, and one that we were sorely messed up at. Because Justin Evans, he took a gamble and lost last season, as well as Terrell Edmonds. And, we didn't look adequate there, and I was surprised that he was reticent. He wasn't reticent to address the hole in the roster with some cap patrol, but he did, and nabbing a number of other role players of varying degrees of importance. So a guy like Zach Bond, a guy like Oren Burks, who, they may not be full-time starters, but they still can have a huge impact on a roster. And Oren Burks may not play, but special teams also have an impact there. It sure seemed like the Birds were going all in for 2024. Welcome news for head coach Nick Sirianni, who's on the hot seat, who's undoubtedly coaching for his life this season. QR Kelly, Offensive coordinator Kellen Moore was brought in to do a lot of the heavy lifting, while Vic Fangio, was added to architect the defense that had become one of the worst in the NFL white seasons in all facts. That's why it was so weird that Hassan Reddick trade rumors persisted before free agency began, ultimately culminating in his trade to the New York Jets last Friday for a conditional 2026 third-round pick that will become a second if Reddick hits certain playing time and performance benchmarks. So he has to get 10 sacks. He has to play 67.5% of the snaps as well. So both of those have to play out in tandem. But actually, it's not strange, because the minute Bryce Huff signed, they had 3 pass rushers who all had, considerable cap numbers, and one of them had to go. It's kind of a juggling act, and a third ball is going to be dropped. Pause. Always was. And me wishing that they were going to keep Hassan on the payroll was just, very wishful thinking, because let's just talk the numbers moving forward. cap numbers come into play, and we'll dive into that in a second. But it just wouldn't have been manageable moving forward, as well as extending him. So let's get into that. In short, the Eagles swapped out a proven superstar pass rusher in the 29-year-old Reddick, a player who tallied 27 sacks, 11 last year and 16 the previous year, and 2 seasons in Philadelphia, for a player in Huff who logged a career-best 10 sacks, 21 QB hits, and 67 QB pressures in 2023. So, rotational player. He played like 427 snaps or so, but not above 450 in 2023. But you know, he was a rotational guy. Hopefully, we still have that rotation going here. But that being said, he didn't play a lot against the run, meaning kind of designated pass rusher, DPR. Pause. But you know, we're gambling on the fact that he can display that part of his game, as well as maybe get better at it, because there's room for improvement. In doing so, the Eagles didn't really save themselves anything in terms of the salary cap this year via over the cap. Let's look at it. According to multiple outlets, the Eagles will pay Reddick's roster bonus prior to officially executing the trade with the Jets, so that's $1 million. That will leave the Eagles with $21.515 million in dead cap for Reddick's contract, which is essentially the same cost on the salary cap as if he were still on the team. So we don't really save anything. They do, however, save themselves $14.5 million in salary for the year. So theoretically, we could play around with that and try to, add, someone, whether it be on the offensive, defensive side, or wherever we want to go with that. So there still might be a trade out there to be had for a star corner, let's say, if Howie doesn't find the cornerback market in the draft to his liking, he has to sacrifice more than he's willing to go to get a guy that he's willing to bring in. Because we don't know how he feels about Quinyon Mitchell, who I feel I'm high on, or Terry Arnold, which I think, he's high on both of those guys, but to what degree is he willing to mortgage a second-round pick, one of our 2 second-round picks, package it up to go up and get one of those guys? Or is he going to be reticent to do that and try to play for another guy like TJ Tampa in the second round, or just outright trade for a star? Because Snead is already in Titan land, so he's off the books. But could Patrick Surtain, could he try to make a play for a guy like that, or J.C. Horn, more of a lower end deal, but a guy that could be moved on draft day? So there's a lot of moving pieces here. Once the decision was made to sign Huff and go younger edge, it became clear Reddick or Sweat's presence on the roster was in jeopardy, and they decided to go with the younger guy in Sweat. He's 27, still maybe seen as an ascending player, whereas Reddick, you know what he is. But to be honest with you, I love Reddick, but he feasted on weaker opponents, weaker talent, and his sack rate against upper echelon offensive tackles wasn't as good as a guy like Myles Garrett, who feasts on everybody. He's an equal opportunity shark. Reddick is an opportunistic shark. And that's no slight to him, because he's got the job done, the past couple seasons. And that made Reddick expendable. So, because Sweat's cap number moved down to $8 million because he was willing to make a deal. And he's still 27, so if he theoretically goes out and has a stellar season, or let's just say a good solid season, we might try to extend him and have 2 bookends still in their prime moving forward. And we just wanted to get something for Reddick because he's 29 and his market is was going to drop off after this season. So there's still something to be had for him, and we weren't going to play for the comp pick because we didn't know whether we be signing a lot of dudes, and there's just no certainty with it. So instead of keeping a Pro Bowl edge rusher and signing him to an extension that would have lessened the cap hit in 2024 and kept the player aging into his 30s for another few years after that, Roseman made the calculated gamble that Huff is an ascending player who will become an every down contributor over the next 3 to 4 years. So basically what we said, and the key part is, like I said, him going to his 30s, a depreciating asset that they can't really sell off. And Eagles under Joe Banner previously had been willing to let players go a year or two early before they hit the wall, so to speak, and rather than do it later and have that decision bite us in the ass. He's also counting on Nolan Smith to see increased playing time and contribute in the way a second-year first-round pick should. So that's key. And like I said in a short and in previous videos, it may not seem like it, but it will kind of be a damning indictment to go first round. The first round, it's a priority. And there's no generational talents out there in the draft at edge here. there's some guys with traits you like Letu, who has serious pass rush moves coming in as a rookie, which is crazy, almost like a seasoned vet, and a guy like Chop Robinson who has the speed coming off the edge, but lack of production, but that blue chip speed talent is there, in the mold of like a guy like Von Miller, but there's no gotta have prospect. I would say Will Anderson would be the number one. He still would be the number one prospect in this year's draft, and that indictment, instead of adding a lower tier guy, a second or third round pick, going first round is kind of like screaming, we need help right now. Even though, like I said, if it's not a guy that you have to have. Why are you going after a guy that you like, but you're not in love with? Pause. It is a bold strategy that could end up paying off if Huff and Smith progress the way Roseman and the front office believe they will, but it could also make them weaker in 2024, a season in which nothing less than a Super Bowl appearance will be acceptable. And yeah, that was my thing. I was like, Reddick, Huff, and Sweat would give you a trio of pass rushers who would terrorize the offensive tackles, interior guards, centers of the league. And why not stick with that? But the salary cap ramifications, moving forward, we need guys who are going to be on, palatable contracts. And he wanted, let's say he would take $25 million a year, but I'll probably say he'd get 20 to 21 million, realistically speaking, with him being the age that he is. And that's just too much for us to be paying a guy. That's why we bought lower, went cheaper and younger, much like guys do. With a guy who's 25, 17 million per year, which is, a couple more million still than, Reddick was making, but Reddick is 29. So, a huge steal for us, per se. And barring, like he has to live up to that contract, go out there and earn it. And like Philly Film said, we'll be back in this position with Bryce Huff in a couple seasons. But hey, let's kick that can down the road and deal with that set of problems when 2026, 2027 arrives. We don't have to worry about that right now. So Roseman and the coaching staff still have staff have a delicate balancing act to juggle. So I mean, like I said, it's like not mortgaging the present, but also keeping us competitive enough and not sacrificing talent for the future. And so I mean, it's present versus future, trying to play both sides. And Roseman, he's been pretty good at balancing, but trading Reddick doesn't make us better now, but it could potentially in the future, because that pick is, like you're saying here, a 2026 pick. And will Sirianni, Kellen Moore, or Vic Fangio even still be around at that time? We don't know. We do know that Howard Roseman still will be, most likely. So he has he has the wherewithal, to play the long-term game. That's his job, to be a GM, to take care of this baby, this franchise, as if it were his own child. That being said, he owes the guys no favors. He's looking out for his best interest, which should be synonymous with the interest of the franchise, but the two aren't always one and the same. Like I say, he doesn't owe these coaches anything. He doesn't owe them granting them with great talent in the immediate future. I mean, supporting them with some good picks and stuff like that, of course. But if it makes sense for him to be thinking 2 years down the road with, a 2026 pick, because that pick does nothing to help us in the immediate future, barring us trading it for a 2025 pick or a 2024 pick in the upcoming draft. But I don't think the way he values future picks, there's no way he's trying to let that go. Well, it could be, potentially a better pick with Aaron Rodgers retiring soon, after this season or the next, and, just crashing back into oblivion. So we'll see how that unfolds. But I mean, not everything can be now, because even the contracts that we did sign guys to, 1 year deal, even though it is $7.5 million, can be or maybe worth up to that for Devin White. We're not really selling out on him. He didn't get anywhere close to the 14, 15, 16, 17, $18 million that he thought he would get out there in free agency. We got him, for theoretically a steal. And Bryce Huff, like I said, it's $17 million over 3 years. The way the cap is scheduled to go up, that's money in the bank for us. And let's see, who else was it that we signed? Zach Bond. Could be great value, no Walmart type deal. Saquon Barkley, $26 million up front, but after the second year, I think we can get out of the contract. So how he always has an out, you know, because this is how we do. You know what I'm saying? Like, your boy just plans for the future. And like I said, it is that tough balancing act, you know, try not to put too much in the now, have, you know, save some cake for later. But, you know, you want to eat good in the interim, you know, good enough to, you know, to be satiated. And we're trying to do that with our season. So, yeah, it's a roll of the dice, you know, getting rid of Reddick, because he's still playing at a high level. And some of those guys can play into their, you know, mid, or I would say early 30s and still be highly effective. But it's this was truly, you know, really just a money move, because we couldn't move forward with him sacrificing, with him paying him. That would sacrifice our allegiance to having cap space, and you know how it loves to be able to wiggle, squirm, and move out of deals, get people, acquire talent, ship off guys. You know, it's just part of that. It's helping the franchise, of course. You know, he always has that in his in the forefront of his mind. But I know it's a fun game for him. You know, it's a fun job. But it's likely the Eagles have finished their offseason heavy lifting in terms of free agency. Yeah, we're pretty much done. But like I said, trades, those things are still on the, you know, are still in the cards for us. Draft trades, and also trades up into the deadline. And you know, offseason, someone gets hurt, obviously, you know, a chance to pounce. He's gonna jump like a freaking lion, like Simba. But more likely than not, the rest of the roster will be filled in with their 2024 draft picks and free agents on one-year deals. Yeah. A quality veteran player, it's not out of the works. You know, Justin Simmons still might come here, but I think not. The Eagles will enter the season with Huff, Sweat, Smith, Brandon Graham, and potentially Zach Bond. I think, like I said, he might be a linchpin. He might be the key cog there. The third swing, not swing tackle, but you know, the swing edge rusher, pause, coming off the bench. And it's fair to be concerned, trying to split the baby at one of the most important positional groups on the team will hinder or help their chances of reaching the only acceptable goal here in 2024, getting back to the Super Bowl and hopefully winning the damn thing. But we don't know, man. We'll have to see how things play out. But I don't agree with, I went through so many different perspectives with the article. I was like, nah, it's not that, but then it's this, but that makes sense. Trying to piece together this puzzle. What in the fuck is Howie doing and thinking out there? We can't completely know, but we have some inklings, and I don't think he's trying to, like I said, mortgage the now for the future. He's trying to strike that perfect balance. Where is that? What is that? Another big piece of the puzzle will be nailed in the draft, but we shall just have to wait and see. But anyways, you're not even watching though, but this is a fun one for me to talk about, you know, just the present, past, future, now type deal. Like my favorite genre of music, trance, just beautiful. The present and past. Christian Willis, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, shout out to you. But you're not even watching though. Like I said that twice, but we're gonna officially chunk the deuces. But I love talking about the Eagles and love making these videos, so we're gonna get out of here. But before we go, as always, it's Fly Eagles Fly, and let's motherfucking go. Like, comment, share, and subscribe Thanks for watching. Check me out at Cintron, Cintron Anime, Cintron Life, or Cintron Laughs, or other social media.